Okay, so we are now live. Thanks again, Eugene, for giving the availability for this interview. So first of all, I would like to ask you to tell me a little bit more about the story behind the project, and eventually how did you arrive to this idea, and and also the story about this startup that is growing behind the project.
Well, I've been trying to build stuff for as long as I remember, and this is actually my fifth project. And this time I really was looking for something meaningful with an impact on people. So I'm very much interested in fitness and health and nutrition. I do a lot of experiments on my own. And I also have some bad family history about heart disease, so it was very natural for me to take interest in anything connected to digital health and quantified self area. So a couple of years ago, my co-founder and I, we were having a conversation about where all this new technology in health was going. So. And we had the idea of building a device to predict heart attacks. And we decided, okay, let's just do that. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. But during that attempt, we understood that we were facing two distinct problems. One of them was building the application logic, something to analyze heart signals and provide that prediction of an impending heart attack. And the other one was the platform itself, or something to build that logic on top of. And when we understood that, we kind of had our bingo moment, because that's when actually Angel was born, when we understood that we were not the only ones dealing with this challenge. There were a lot of other entrepreneurs in the digital health field who were blocked from implementing their ideas by lack of devices, of sensors, of anything to connect to our body and build solutions. So that's how it all started. So since then, we have been reaching out to developers and entrepreneurs and researchers, and they all are very excited about the fact that Angel is an open system that was designed for research, for innovation, for new apps. We just don't know where it's going, but there are so many possibilities. It's incredible.
So actually, you are. What's the most challenging part of this part of the project? So what was your most challenging technical aspect?
Well, some of the sensors are quite difficult to implement at the wrist. And well, that's the most challenging part. To have our technology work well at the wrist is an ongoing work. We're still optimizing our stuff, our hardware, and we're trying to get to the best performance we can under every life situation. But so far, so good. But you know, there are some limitations, unfortunately.
Sure. So do you expect that the ecosystem will be, I think really important in building the advanced applications? So for example, you mentioned a lot of health related application. So do you expect that somebody will contribute with advanced, for example, medical applications that are targeted to disease prevention, heart attack prevention, or maybe I don't know, even other challenges? Or do you think that Angel will be building most of the high value use cases on its own?
Well, we are not going to be solving any specific use cases. We are just trying to build the best sensor we can and put it into the hand of our developers. So the interest has been from a wide number of areas. And we are starting out as a consumer technology, so in terms of medicine and clinical use, it's not going to be supported for the first year, at least, of the life cycle of the project, because it takes a lot. It takes some time to get it cleared by FDA and similar authorities worldwide. So we expect that the initial innovation will be in the consumer space in terms of health and fitness in general, well-being, sleep monitoring, and a lot of tracking functionality that is not pure clinical, not pure medical. For the medical community, Angel is going to be immediately usable and helpful for their research. So that doesn't have to wait for any particular clearances by medical organizations and authorities. And we've had, in fact, received a lot of interest from hospitals and universities that want to conduct research using Angel. So once again, we are starting out as a sensor, as a tool, which we are hoping others would use to innovate in health.
And at the end, you mean you will develop more vertical, like for example, collaboration with hospitals within time. So the consumer market will be like the first taking over this opportunity of innovating with use cases and everything. So you don't need a particular certification for this. It's much easier to get into this market.
That is true. This is the roadmap. And once again, it's important for me to explain that we are not building products. We're building a platform. We're building a tool. So we're not releasing apps, not competing with our own developers.
Yeah. That's a good, powerful, I think, vision behind this product. Let me get back to the core point of this interview. As you know, that we are probably as a web portal, we are very interested in everything related to open source hardware. So when we first met at the Web Summit, you mentioned to me that you had some thoughts about opening the hardware as well. And so my overall question here, or just I just wanted to know your views about the potential in being not just open in terms of software, but maybe trying to embed some open hardware strategy in your product to be able to actually innovate more also in terms of hardware format or maybe plugins or things like that. That's my question, basically.
Mm-hmm. Well, I understand. Our approach and our understanding of the way things stand is that, first of all, if we do not deliver this open sensor, no one is going to do that, because every other solution out there is locked in some way, is proprietary, and is limiting to consumers. So it's critical to us, and this is our top priority, to first of all introduce an open technology to digital health. Now, we've been able to sketch our roadmap where we are building this company to introduce a solution, and I don't see personally how we can open up the hardware during our first years. If we do that, we'll simply get eaten alive by all those large corporations and by various competing companies who will simply replicate our solution and keep it locked. So unfortunately, I'm very much about open systems and opening up everything and integrating everything, because I think that the future vision, the complete vision of digital health calls for open information exchange. And but the problem is, I don't see that how we will be able to survive and continue this open innovation if the hardware itself is also open. It may become possible one day. Maybe somebody else will find the right formula how to continue innovation, because we've got major plans for new and more advanced sensors as well. And I don't see anybody else at the moment trying to bring more open technologies to this field. So our priority is introducing open technologies, and maybe one day we'll be able to open up the hardware as well, but not at the moment.
Yeah. So your business, I would say your value proposition and business model is actually to sell the hardware to consumer and developers. So the hardware is the key part of the business sustainability.
Yep, we'll partner up with innovators, be they small app developers or major corporations, just as long as Angel is perceived as an enabling technology and something complementary to their solutions. And yes, we are in the hardware business, at least at the moment. You know, everybody heard of the lean startup, and we don't know where we're going to be in 2 years, but this is where we are at today.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting for us to talk to you about that, because many people is now experimenting ways to be sustainable with open hardware as well, and there are some companies that are actually doing this. But it's very interesting to know your experience, and knowing that you guys are heading to much openness in a way. So you are trying to understand how to be the more open as possible, I would say. So that's for sure interesting for us. Do you plan to to create some sort of I guess so, but maybe it's good to know for developers outside to know what's your plan in terms of building this ecosystem of applications. So you're thinking about the marketplace and things like that.
Well, the applications for Angel run on connected devices such as smartphones and computers. So we do not control that ecosystem, and I think in the long term this is a good thing. Not necessarily for our company, but for the consumers. So we won't be creating a marketplace per se, because there is the App Store is already out there, as well as Google Play. And these are the channels that our developers are going to use to distribute their software. So we're not in the business of creating new marketplaces, and we are not actually. Well, the basic model should be very clear to you, to our audience. There is Angel, and to use it, you connect to it from any device that can use Bluetooth 4, Bluetooth Low Energy. So as you can understand, we do not control that other device and how apps get to that device. So it's completely open, which is not necessarily the best thing for a company to make profit, but it's part of our vision. And in fact, when I was working for Sun Microsystems, I kind of understood for the first time how an open product could be also made profitable and sustain innovation. When, of course, I was working on the Java engine, which is open source, and I believe still is today.
So it will be possible to interact with the Angel hardware with a standard protocol like Bluetooth?
Yes, what we are doing is we are using standard Bluetooth profiles as much as we can, and whenever we extend those profiles, we just open them up for the public to review, to comment on. At this time, we are collecting feedback from our existing registered developers to improve those profiles and protocols. So everything is going to be in the open. Angel is immediately compatible with existing apps because it uses existing and standard Bluetooth profiles, and new layers of functionality are kept out in the open as open documents and open specifications.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you just give some hints and suggestions about your experience with building this ultra successful crowdfunding campaign?
Well, crowdfunding has been a rush. It was a big surprise. It was a period of 14-hour days throughout the week without any weekends. It was a major effort for us because this is not something that we do usually. We are about hardware, about engineering, about software, not about running campaigns. But what really surprised us was the amount of support we received from people who immediately understood the potential for open innovation in digital health. So in terms of the campaign itself, I think we were really able to learn how much the need exists out there. We have met and connected to a lot of interesting people. So it's been a very positive experience, but one that I'm not looking forward to repeating anytime soon because it was so much hard work.
Yeah, but actually, I mean, you guys probably are already got some funding, or maybe you can tell us a little bit more about your startup experience, if it's possible, actually. But I guess that the crowdfunding will be has been good in terms of market validation and as well as a tool for networking because it gave you some real visibility. You were featured on lots of news portals, and so I think that's a key key part of the overall crowdfunding campaign.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can tell you that in terms of funding, we've been bootstrapped till recently, which I think is quite rare in hardware. And the funds that we received from our crowdfunding campaign are extremely helpful, of course. It's a serious amount of money. And what we are doing today, we are still getting more investors on board because what we are trying to do is build a core team that is able to sustain a serious pace of innovation moving forward to addressing more advanced sensors. So we don't want to just build an ad hoc team to just implement this one sensor and ship it out there and close the company. And that is why we're also looking for additional investments. So that's the formula. The formula. Yeah, the bootstrapped till almost about a couple of months.
Yeah. To my experience, it's not that rare.
Yeah.
Also in hardware business, anyway. But by the way, I'm curious just to to close this with some additional question. I'm curious to know what's your experience in. Are you based in Israel? Am I right?
Yes, we are operating in Tel Aviv, Israel.
Yeah, and what's your experience with Israel startup ecosystem? From abroad, we know that it's a quite lively ecosystem. So, are you looking for more global partners, or your local ecosystem is sustaining you with investments and interest? And that's just a curiosity.
Well, we are always looking for global partners. The local entrepreneurship ecosystem in Israel is it's unique. I think it's second only to what you see in the Silicon Valley. So there's been no lack of interest from investors and from potential partners, but we are indeed looking for a global product, a global way of doing things, and that's why we're always open to outside suggestions and outside interest. So yeah. I can tell you that Israel is a good place to have a startup in. It's very supportive of the
interest in hardware. Sorry, because we lost you a little bit. I mean, the interest in hardware as well is growing. Is there any accelerator, for example, in the area for hardware startups?
Yes, I think most of the Israeli hardware startups, which are today grown companies, are in the field of high bandwidth communications, InfiniBand. There are actually a few companies such as Marvell and Mellanox that are pretty famous, and they were all born in Israel, and all their technologies are quite advanced in terms of hardware. Accelerators, I think hardware is just becoming trendy globally. So I haven't really seen too many accelerators who can support that kind of innovation, but I'm certain they're opening up as we speak.
Yeah, sure. So, thanks very much. I guess that that's a good starting point for our community to know more about your project. I don't know if you have any specific message or just information that you want to share with our community to engage more and have more support.
Yes, actually, I would like to invite all interested developers to participate already today in the specification of our future SDK and protocols. Just go to our website, angelsensor.com, register, and you'll get all our technical communication, and we will be able to influence what eventually comes out.